The African Climate Summit just ended in Addis Ababa last week, and it has brought a whole range of options for how Africa will position itself to the climate change and also the next COP, the Conference of Parties, which is supposed to be the biggest place where discussions around climate change happen. So already we're beginning to see that the Climate Summit has become an important response to Africa's positioning on climate. That's positioning. That's a great thing. On positioning, you remember the Africa Zeitgeist show. Today we're going to talk specifically about an AU response to extreme weather events, which is very linked to the Climate Summit. So there's this agency which used to be based in Johannesburg, but is now in Côte d'Ivoire and Abidjan. It's called the Africa Risk Capacity. Now, Africa Risk Capacity is an AU agency, a specialized AU agency with the responsibility for supporting AU member states on how they prepare themselves for extreme weather events, how they prepare themselves for climate change, and especially these days with epidemics and all these other health-related diseases. They're also supporting member states and understanding that as well. So one of their specializations actually is climate risk assessment and expertise in disaster risk financing, training and capacity building, contingency planning and funding, parametric insurance and reinsurance. Parametric insurance is insurance that is targeted for a specific event. So for example, as I speak right now, Ghana has parametric insurance for floods. It started that with the Africa Risk Capacity last year. What it means is that in the event of extreme floods in Ghana, Africa Risk Capacity, as per its mandate, will offer Ghana some amount of money specifically for the floods and for nothing else. In Lesotho, the Africa Risk Capacity supported that country with parametric insurance for droughts. It has done that for Malawi as well, which means that in the event of drought, extreme drought, it triggers the insurance payout to that country. That's what parametric insurance is. And the African Union's Africa Risk Capacity is the only AU agency that is able to do this with a whole very important structure, part of which I'll unpack for you today. Established in 2012, the Africa Risk Capacity has dedicated itself to enhancing the capabilities of AU member states in planning, preparing for and responding to extreme weather events, natural disasters, and disease outbreaks. The ARC agency offers essential services, including capacity with its financial affiliates, ARC Limited. It also has another agency called ARC Limited, out of which some of these payouts happen. Given the escalating climate crisis and the increasing frequency of disease threats, the work of ARC is critical in fostering resilience and improving our readiness to confront these challenges. Our readiness is about the African continent's readiness. So this is about positioning. If we're still sticking to the Africa Zeitgeist show's mandates about skills, visibility, and positioning, the Africa Risk Capacity supports member states to ensure that they are positioned themselves well on parametric insurance, that's flood insurance, drought insurance, extreme weather insurance. Largely over the past couple of years, this has happened in southern African countries, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, and Ghana has yet to receive a payout yet, even though I know that Ghana is a signatory to the ARC Treaty, which is a treaty that governs this specialized AU agency. So member states' participation is what we want to do now. Today, the ARC has 39 African Union member states and 17 countries that have ratified the treaty. There are actively 28 member states that have an MOU or Memorandum of Understanding that allow the countries to benefit. That's almost half of the AU member states that are enabled to benefit from payouts. Remember, I spoke to the fact that Lesotho just 2 weeks ago had a payout. The ARC group team were there to do that. They've done that in other countries as well in the Southern African regions. And more, we see that with respect to parametric insurance, the ARC has focused a lot on crop drought, land drought, tropical cyclone, a lot, and increasingly because of the extreme weather climates that we're experiencing across the continent, we're seeing that there's a lot more of the extreme weather events where there's flooding, a lot of flooding. Occasionally the drought when there's extreme heat in certain places, but more and more we're seeing a lot more of the drought and the floods happening. Let me speak a bit about the financing by key partners. As part of its core mandate, ARC has actually strengthened member states' capabilities for better action through its capacity building program, training 1,680 people, among which 60% are women. They have a gender program as well. This includes government experts, parliamentarians, journalists, and gender experts who are trained in key topics such as the ARC mechanisms, customization, gender, while also facilitating policy dialogue for policymakers and government officials. The capacity building efforts contribute to reaching the outcomes on insurance uptake by governments, but also by other humanitarian actors such as the World Food Programme and so on, other UN agencies that have the mandates to deal with this issue. They also help raise awareness for more treaty signatures and ratifications, as well as a better mainstreaming of gender in disaster related management as well. Since its inception, the Africa Risk Capacity has actually emerged as an important game changer in disaster risk financing across the continent. And you will know that the AU Aspiration 7 is about the AU as a global player. The AU as a global player, as we see on the Africa Zeitgeist show as well, isn't just about the AU being represented at the UN Security Council or in big fora, China forums, Japanese, TICAD and all these things. It's about the AU becoming more resilient. When you're resilient, it means that when you fall down, you're able to bounce back up a lot more easily. So being resilient is an important way of fulfilling the Aspiration 7 of the AU as a global player. And in our view, the Africa Risk Capacity speaks to this issue because it's talking about resilience, it's talking about preparing member states for disaster preparedness, and we don't need to wait for the West to come and support us. Let's be honest about what the ARC does. The ARC has a replica model of the institution. That's where the financing goes to, out of which payouts happen. And some of these things are done with stakeholders. But you see, if ARC did not have a certain standard of work that it did for which it was to be respected or for which it were respected, we wouldn't have some of these stakeholders saying that they want to support them and work with them, such as the World Food Programme in the past and so on. So even as stakeholders are supporting the Africa Risk Capacity to do its work on supporting member states on awareness raising, on climate change, extreme weather events and so on, it is the fact that they're doing something constructive, positive and good for the continent, reason for which these stakeholders are also supporting. It'll get to the space and point where we will see more African actors supporting the Africa Risk Capacity. I can tell you that at COP29 last year in Eastern Europe, the AUDA NEPAD, the AU's development agency, signed an MOU with Africa Risk Capacity to begin synergizing on some of the work that it does. The Africa Risk Capacity has also a relationship with the ECOWAS's health agency, which is West Africa Health Organization, and the Institut Pasteur in Senegal, where they have a trilateral relationship, where it's the Institut Pasteur in Dakar, together with West Africa Health Organization and the Africa Risk Capacity, coming together as Pan-African actors, both at the continental and the regional level and country level in West Africa, looking at how to respond to disaster, not only just disaster, but also to epidemics. West Africa Health Organization, let's remember, is the ECOWAS's health agency that has been around since 1987. So these are examples of what Africa Risk Capacity is doing. There's a lot more which over the next couple of editions, as we begin to unpack and demystify what the Africa Risk Capacity does, we'll be able to explain to you. But we can tell you that so far that 23 African countries have joined the ARC mechanism, strengthening the capacity to respond to climate shocks. 284 insurance policies have been issued, with a total of $255 million of premium that has been paid. In return, ARC has dispersed $242 million in payouts, enabling faster sovereign-led response efforts across the continent. Remember Lesotho, remember Malawi, remember Mozambique. These policies have provided over $1.5 billion in coverage, protecting more than 166 million people in droughts, floods, and tropical cyclones. ARC is not just a financing risk, it is empowering African nations to act early, save lives, and build resilience as per Aspiration 7 of the AU as a global player. So as we begin to wind down this show, just one of the important takeaways is to remember that as far as the Africa climate conversation is concerned, Africa is not left out at all. There was an Africa Climate Summit, the second of its kind. They're positioning themselves for how they will respond to the next COP. So it's not just bilaterals between African countries talking. And now we have the Africa Risk Capacity that has been around for 13 good years. It is now in Abidjan. It used to be in South Africa. It has moved to West Africa now. And it will continue to support member states, all those 28 countries that have signed an MOU with the Africa Risk Capacity that will enable them get payouts when there's a flood or there's an extreme weather event. These are the things that are happening on the continent. We are very happy to say that we will continue to promote some of these things that the Africa Risk Capacity is doing, because there's a lot more going to happen around climate change. We're going to see more of these things, and it's going to call for more African-led responses. And ARC, in our view, will be the AU agency that can help respond to this. We're very happy to be coming your way with the Africa Zeitgeist show on another edition where we look at another AU agency doing great things on the continent. Watch out for ARC, watch out for Africa Zeitgeist show on Instagram, on YouTube, and Facebook, where you'll find more interesting videos on the great work that the continent is doing. We are here to amplify those in the best way we can. Thank you, Chief, for your support on production. Have yourself a great day. My name is Ike Bensa Jr. Goodbye.